thing about Trump is, like him or not, he has really good political instincts, or at least often does. And he seems to sense that Biden is his best opponent. I think he's trying not to scare him out of the race and keep him in. It's interesting because he seemed to see him as the most potent opponent going to the 2020 race.
4 years ago.
Yeah, but obviously things have shifted a whole lot. It's 4 years later. Biden's a lot older than Trump is too. But for whatever reason, he sees Biden as the easiest to beat. I think he doesn't want him to leave the race at this point.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here with magazine editor David Mark. David, some House Democrats, not a lot, but a few, are among the first wave of elected Democratic officials. Actually, we don't know if it's going to be a wave yet or not, but among the first of the party to come out and say there should be a change at the top of the Democratic ticket. Who are these people and why are they out front on this?
Yeah, that is more than the Biden team wanted at all. The main one has been Congressman Lloyd Doggett, Democrat from Texas representing the Austin area, who has basically said what's been obvious to everybody, that President Biden did more than have a bad night. He's having trouble with cognitive issues and just probably isn't up to the job at this point. He's the one who's actually come out and said that. Interestingly, there's a couple others who have said, you know what, we actually think Trump's going to win. And I think that's got to upset the Democratic brain trust more than anything. It's Congresswoman Marie Gluesenkamp Perez from Washington and Jared Golden from Maine, who basically came and said, yeah, Trump can win. It's no big deal if he does, which is absolutely not the message that Team Biden wants to put forward.
Can Democrats, let's say that this pressure campaign worked and Joe Biden were to agree to step aside, can they even do it logistically? There's considerations about money, about ballot access. I mean, what are the hurdles there?
Talking to campaign finance lawyers, the easiest way, just logistically, I'm not talking politically, but just in terms of the mechanics, would be just to put in Vice President Kamala Harris, because her name is already on the ballot, and at least in theory, all the money could be moved, the tens of millions of dollars that the Biden reelection team has could move to her. Also, the ballot access would stay. But some of this could get tested in court, and we've never actually had a situation like this. Not hard to imagine Republican National Committee or Republican allies throwing some lawsuits out there and seeing what happens.
Is it tenable for Biden to step down as the nominee for the Democrats and still remain serving as president? Because the argument follows, if he's not fit to run for president, he's probably not fit to be president for the next 7-8 months either. So is a resignation also, you think, part of the discussions here?
I think that's just so far out there. You can see a world in which Biden comes around to it finally, agrees not to run. I don't think that's very likely, but it could happen. Actually resigning, that one just seems so far out there. Not finish his term. I take the point on him. I'm not saying it should or should not happen, but he seems so stubborn, highly, highly unlikely.
And finally, Donald Trump has been noticeably quiet, uncharacteristically quiet, since the debate in what was widely viewed as his victory in the debate, although you pointed out before we joined that there were some problems with his performance as well, notwithstanding Biden. But what do you make of how Trump has played all this?
The thing about Trump is, like him or not, he has really good political instincts, or at least often does. And he seems to sense that Biden is his best opponent. I think he's trying not to scare him out of the race and keep him in. It's interesting because he seemed to see him as the most potent opponent going to the 2020 race.
4 years ago.
Yeah, but obviously things have shifted a whole lot. It's 4 years later. Biden's a lot older than Trump is too. But for whatever reason, he sees Biden as the easiest to beat. I think he doesn't want him to leave the race at this point. I found it interesting when they were negotiating the whole debate rules. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it seemed like the Trump team kind of capitulated easily. They kind of gave in to the Biden rules, but they must have known something or had some plan. I'm not saying inside information, but they had good instincts about it and said, all right, maybe let's just let him debate how we want. We'll get the best of him no matter what.
Right. I mean, before the debate, there was a lot of hand-wringing about, did Trump walk into a trap? It's CNN, it's moderators who have been highly critical of him.
Yeah.
There's no audience. The Biden campaign was said to have set the terms for the debate, right?
I was surprised, actually, the Biden team even wanted to change things, because it actually worked out pretty well for him in 2020 when Trump was being kind of a jerk on stage and yelling and screaming. Biden looked like the reasonable one, the statesman, and it seemed like if it ain't broke, don't fix it type situation. But for whatever reason, they went and changed it, and I'm sure there'll be lots of campaign books and stories that come out about how this all went down. But for whatever reason, scheduling that debate did not turn out well.
And now the great irony is that Democrats are blaming the format that the Democratic nominee demanded for the performance. So.
Yeah, well, it's up to the candidate. That's all it comes down to. And boy, they're still hearing about it. I think you're going to hearing about this for some time to come. It'll be interesting if the Democrats, if Biden did agree to do this, when it might actually happen. This is getting way ahead of ourselves. But I could see them doing it like right when Trump named his running mate or something like that, or made his acceptance speech at the Republican convention. I'm not suggesting that's going to happen. It's not any, just speculation on how it might go down.
That makes sense. Take the wind out of the sails of whatever Trump momentum.
Right.
Well, David, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
You can get more writing from David and the rest of the political team at washingtonexaminer.com.